That night, the underground laboratory beneath the city of Arclight glowed with a cold blue light. At the center of the room stood a massive biological machine, its energy tubes running around it like the veins of a living creature. Standing before the machine was a man in a white lab coat, Dr. Kaito Ren. He stared at the screen, displaying DNA sequences constantly shifting and rewriting themselves. The technology before him could accomplish what humanity had pursued for centuries, restructuring life itself, curing cancer, erasing disease, even extending human lifespan. A voice spoke from behind him. With this technology, you could save millions of people. Kaito remained silent for a few seconds. Then he laughed. Not a laugh of joy, but something colder and far more unsettling. He turned around, madness glinting in his eyes. Save them. Kaito placed his hand on the control panel. Streams of biological code began to race across the screen. Humanity is weak, fragile, always afraid of evolution. He pressed the activation button. The energy conduits trembled as blue light exploded throughout the room. Kaito whispered softly as if declaring something irreversible. What I want isn't to save the world. He looked at the map of Arclight City displayed on the screen. What I want is to turn it into a world of monsters. And that was the moment everything began. Before becoming the man standing before a machine capable of changing the world, Dr. Kaito Ren was once a highly respected name in the city of Arclight. He was a renowned neurotherapist, a doctor who specialized in helping patients overcome their deepest psychological traumas. Kaito's clinic was always full of patients. People said he had a special gift. Just by looking into someone's eyes, Kaito could understand the pain they were hiding. But no one knew that he himself was carrying a terrible secret. 15 years earlier, during an expedition in the frozen region of Tierra Vale, Kaito and his father were guiding a research team through a range of ancient mountains. The trip seemed ordinary until one of the young women in the group got lost and disappeared inside a deep ice cave. Kaito was the one who found her. But in the darkness of that cave, something else was there. An ancient creature that had never been recorded before. The encounter lasted only a few seconds. Kaito managed to save the girl, but before escaping the cave, the creature bit into his arm. When he returned to Arclight, the wound healed quickly. Too quickly. Just a few weeks later, Kaito discovered a horrifying truth. His body no longer survived on food. What kept him alive was the life energy of other people. For many years, Kaito Ren learned how to live with his curse. He controlled it carefully. During therapy sessions, when patients fell into deep hypnosis, Kaito would draw only a tiny amount of life force, just enough to keep his own body alive. Those who left his clinic only felt slightly fatigued. No one suspected anything. Kaito always told himself that he was still human. Until the day everything changed. One stormy night, the clinic door burst open. 3 people in combat armor rushed in carrying an unconscious man. They were members of Aegis Unit, the special task force responsible for protecting the city of Arclight. The injured man's name was Nova. His body was emitting strange pulses of energy, as if a massive power inside him was spiraling out of control. We heard you can treat unusual cases, one of them said urgently. If you can't help him, Nova will die. Kaito looked at the man lying on the table. The moment he placed his hand on Nova's body, he felt something he had never experienced before. The energy within Nova was unlike that of any human. It was stronger, deeper, almost limitless. A dangerous thought flashed through Kaito's mind. Just a little, he told himself. But the moment Kaito began to draw energy from Nova, his body reacted violently. His bones twisted. His muscles swelled. A terrible pain tore through his body. And for the first time in his life, Kaito Ren began transforming into something that was no longer human. The pain felt endless. Inside the darkened clinic, Kaito Ren's body convulsed violently. His joints cracked with sickening snaps. His back swelled, as if something inside him was trying to tear through his skin and break free. The members of Aegis Unit stumbled backward in shock. What the hell is happening? But Kaito couldn't hear them anymore. The energy from Nova was flooding into his body like a raging torrent. It wasn't just sustaining him, it was changing him. From Kaito's back, 2 massive wings burst through the fabric of his white lab coat. His hands twisted into razor-sharp claws. His face elongated and his eyes began to glow with a wild feral light. When the transformation finally ended, the creature standing in the middle of the room was no longer human. A towering shadow with enormous bat-like wings stretching up to the ceiling. The Aegis agents immediately raised their weapons. But the creature simply looked at them and laughed. A deep hoarse laugh that sounded unfamiliar even to itself. In that moment, Kaito felt something he had never experienced in his entire life. Absolute power. He could sense the life force of every person in the room. Every heartbeat. Every current of energy flowing through their bodies. And for the first time, Kaito realized something. The curse was not a burden. It was evolution. The creature slowly spread its massive wings. Humans, Kaito whispered. Then he spoke again, his new voice low and cold. Too weak to survive. That night when he flew out of Arclight, Kaito Ren left his old name behind. From that moment on, The world would know him by another name. Drakon. After the night he left Arclight, the name Drakon quickly became a ghost, whispered through the secret reports of the Aegis unit. Weeks passed, and no one knew where he had gone. But one thing was certain, the creature that had once been Kaito Ren was learning how to use his new power. Drakon flew to a desolate land known as Virex Valley, a place isolated from the rest of the world, where ancient ruins and strange creatures still existed. There he encountered another man who had also crossed the boundary of humanity, Dr. Victor Grain, a brilliant and insane biologist. Unlike Kaito, Victor had willingly transformed himself using the DNA of prehistoric creatures. His body was now a hybrid of human and a massive dinosaur-like species, his skin thick like armor, and his eyes cold like those of a predator. But what caught Drakon's attention wasn't Victor. It was the machine standing behind him. A massive device, pulsing with waves of biological energy. Victor called it the Reverse Evolution Engine. Humans have always feared returning to their origins, Victor said, his voice filled with excitement. But with this machine, we can return the entire world to the age of the true rulers of this planet. Drakon stared at the map of Arclight City displayed on the screen. The idea was terrifyingly perfect. The two monsters looked at each other, and in that moment a dangerous alliance was formed. Their plan was simple. Turn all of humanity into monsters. The plan began on a moonless night. At the top of the energy tower in the center of Arclight, the Reverse Evolution Engine roared to life. Massive rings of biological energy spun across the sky above the city, radiating a blinding blue light. A wave of energy spread outward. At first, it was only a faint tremor. Then, screams echoed everywhere. People began to transform. Bones twisted. Skin hardened. Half-human, half-beast creatures appeared in the streets. The city descended into chaos. Aegis unit immediately deployed their forces. But they were completely overwhelmed. High in the sky, the enormous wings of Drakon blocked the city lights. Beside him stood Victor Grain, the one controlling the machine. Aegis's resistance was quickly crushed. A combat helicopter was torn apart mid-air by Drakon. The remaining agents were forced to retreat. From above, Drakon looked down at the city as it warped and changed. Humans fled, monsters roared. A new world was being born. Victor burst into manic laughter. Look at this, Drakon. Humanity has finally evolved. Drakon remained silent. Then his voice echoed across the central plaza. This is the end of the human era. At that moment within the chaotic crowd below, Drakon saw a familiar face. Mira, the woman Kaito had saved years ago. She stood there, staring directly at him, not with anger, but with horror, and for the first time since becoming Drakon, a small crack of human memory appeared within him. The moment Mira's eyes met, Drakon's time seemed to slow. Amid the chaotic sky above Arclight, the roars of monsters and the explosions of collapsing buildings faded into the distance. Inside, Drakon's mind, old memories suddenly resurfaced. A frozen cave. A young woman lost in the darkness. An outstretched hand pulling her out of danger. Kaito Ren. For a brief second, the human who once existed inside the monster rose to the surface again. But that moment of hesitation changed everything. Behind Drakon, Victor Grain noticed it immediately. His cold eyes flashed with contempt. I knew this would happen, Victor said dryly. You're still far too human. Before Drakon could react, Victor activated the control panel. The Reverse Evolution Engine suddenly surged in power. Streams of energy erupted violently far beyond the original plan. Victor turned to look at Drakon. This world doesn't need two rulers. Only then did Drakon realize the truth. Victor had never considered him an ally. He had only needed Drakon to activate the machine. And now with the system reaching maximum output, Victor intended to transform the entire Earth into a prehistoric age ruled by him alone. Fury ignited within Drakon. His massive wings spread wide across the sky. You've made a mistake, Victor. And for the first time since their alliance began, the two monsters turned on each other as hunters. The sky above Arclight trembled as the two monsters collided amid the surging waves of unstable energy. Drakon and Victor Grain clashed atop the energy tower. Each blow detonated the air around them, shattering windows across nearby buildings. Below them, the Reverse Evolution Engine was operating far beyond its limits, releasing violent streams of energy capable of turning the entire city into prehistoric creatures. Victor roared, his massive claws slashing downward. Humanity will disappear, and I will rule the new era. But Drakon was no longer fighting for power. In his mind he could still see Mira looking up at him in fear. The memory of the man he once was still existed somewhere inside him. Drakon realized a brutal truth. The machine had passed the point of no return. If it wasn't destroyed immediately, the entire world would transform. With a thunderous roar, Drakon grabbed Victor and dove straight into the machine's energy core. A massive explosion of light erupted. A shockwave of energy spread across Arclight, then slowly faded away. When the smoke cleared, the machine had been destroyed. The city was saved. But Drakon was gone. People say that in the distant forests beyond Virex, a massive shadow is sometimes seen flying across the night sky. Perhaps the monster is still alive. Only this time, no one knows whether it is a destroyer or a guardian. If you want to know whether Dracon truly survived or vanished forever, comment 1 and I'll tell part 2 of the story.